I know, I want to lay back on the bed. If I'm on a bed, I might as well. Sorry.
You're going to recline like it's freaking Passover here while recording this?
No, I have several pillows behind me. I'm like...
No, Danielle, I'm not angry at you. I'm jealous. That's a great idea. Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who don't know what you're talking about.
And I don't know what you're talking about. Is it Hyperion, Sam?
It is not. So we are taking a brief... Yeah, I know. We are taking a brief break from Hyperion, but I guess I just can't stay away from the convoluted time-traveling well, Danielle, because I have brought you...
Short story by Dan Simmons.
No, that'd be awesome. But that was pretty much the first book in the Hyperion stage, was some of the short stories by Dan Simmons. No, I have brought you the 2002 direct-to-VHS DVD movie, Cinderella II, Dreams Come True. We're going to try to unpick the convoluted timeline and how this fits into the larger Cinderella direct-to-video canon with Cinderella III, A Twist in Time.
Is this the one with the... what's her name? Anastasia and her life.
Oh, Danielle, we will get to all of it.
Because I did fall down that well, but I remember any details.
I know, this is really your fault, because you brought this up. I'm like, I guess I have to do it.
I read one little tidbit, and it just opened up an entire world of possibility, and I was very confused.
Yeah, no, I was very confused when I watched this movie, too, and I'm going to make you more confused.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, as is tradition, we usually have a short description for you to read, but I'm going to eschew that, which will be obvious for the reasons why in a moment. But instead, why don't you give us a brief summary, just the briefest summary of Cinderella III, so we can understand this movie's context in the larger Cinderella canon/timeline.
Isn't this the same one that you had me do in that one of our short episodes, flashback
I don't remember, Danielle, but hey, if you don't remember
I didn't know then either. All right, Cinderella III, Twist in Time.
I think it is. I think you're absolutely right. So you should be fresh up to just give a reminder to our lovely listeners so they understand where we're going with this. If you haven't listened to the episode, it's crazy.
Okay, so Cinderella recently married, correct?
No, they've been married for a year.
Oh, okay. I think I said that last time too, and it was wrong.
Yeah.
So married for a year. Oh God, why is
Perfect.
this so hard?
All right.
There's a magic wand. Anastasia gets a hold of the magic wand. She decides to change time.
No.
Her mom decides that they should change the history, the Cinderella history, by making the prince forget about her.
That kind of. Oh, sort of. The wicked stepmother goes back in time to
before they met,
to the point where they're trying on the glass slippers.
That's right, and they get Anastasia. For whatever reason, they choose Anastasia over Drusilla, which was a terrible decision. And Anastasia tries on the slipper and it fits or whatever.
They make it fit, yeah.
Yeah, so she ends up being even though she doesn't look anything like Cinderella, she is the princess. Apparently he has face blindness.
Well, no, because then, we had Prince face blindness, but then the wicked stepmother does change his memory, so he forgets about Cinderella, so...
Right. And then Cinderella acts as a mouse catcher, trying to get to the prince.
We're just way too much detail. That's true. Let's just skim over all of this to the conclusion here, because all that's really filler.
Okay. What happens at the end?
So Anastasia is about to marry the prince, but remember, my favorite part, the wicked stepmother put a little switcheroo by turning Drusilla into Anastasia, at least to make her look like it.
Oh, Drusilla into Anastasia to make her look like it?
Yeah, because she's like, Anastasia's not going along with this plan. To let me turn Drusilla into Anastasia so that I'll have my puppet do the part instead of using Drusilla to do it in the first place. It's great.
Right, and they're about to get married, but Cinderella shows up. No,
but
she's
Anastasia
on a boat.
Stops them.
Anastasia stops them. Cinderella's on a boat, right?
Well, she gets back. The prince saves her.
The prince has already saved her by now, before the marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you sure? Why would he save this random woman from a boat if he's getting married to someone else? How is that emotionally logical, Sam?
No, because he saved her from the boat, brought her back, and then the stepmother put her into the carriage and sent her off. And then she escaped the carriage and now is back.
Okay, well, she's back. And everything gets turned back around, except not, because the fairy godmother is like, oh, by the way, you're living in this timeline.
Yeah, she's like, hey, do you want me to undo the last, few, take us back to the original timeline and undo all this weird time travel shenanigans? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? We don't have the sixth dimensional sense that you do as a magical being. And she's like, never mind, we're just going to stay in this messed up timeline.
Which is insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. So that's the context I want to put Cinderella II in, is that there is a weird bifurcated timeline that this may or may not fit into.
Perfect. I hope everybody understood my summary. I know that was fantastic.
It was enough. It was enough. If you want to know more and get more detail and have us be more coherent, maybe listen to the episode. It's great.
It is a good one. It's one of our most listened to ones for reasons unknown.
Because it's Cinderella 3, Danielle. What's not the love?
That's true.
I also really appreciate that I'm doing them out of order because...
Even better.
Yeah. All right. So let's get right into Cinderella 2. Dreams Come True.
Yay.
We open with a shot of the castle, and the title appears in a swirl of magic. Very low effort. Cut to Gus and Jack hurrying through the castle to see the fairy godmother who is visiting to read them the Cinderella story, which... What?
It's a book? It's a book? Did they publish it as a book?
Yeah. So, first off, the fairy godmother has nothing better to do than to hang around with these mice reading them stories, because she's not a magical being who has a mission to help helpless people, I guess. But also... they live that story. It's literally their lives. Why are they going to hear the fairy godmother read them the book? And also, why is it a book? I'll get into that more later because it comes up. But what? What is happening? I'm already confused.
Maybe Disney got involved.
However, first they have to sneak by a cat. This time, though, it's not Lucifer. It's a Persian named Pompom.
Pompom.
Who will feature heavily in this movie for reasons that are mostly about making sure it can reach its 80-minute runtime.
Maybe I should name my cat Pompom, Sam.
Okay, Danielle. You're just like a 3-year-old. Every time you hear someone, that's the next thing I'm going to do. That's the next thing. The attention span of a gnat.
No, I just say it to mess with you.
I know, but I'm still going to apply that to you. One of these days, it's going to bite you in the butt.
Maybe. I don't know how. I mean, who cares what I name my cat?
So my question is...
that has a name.
Yeah, several, probably. So my question is, why does Cinderella, who has mouse friends that she knows are sentient, also have a cat in her castle that is a danger to them and is actively trying to murder them?
That's a great question. Maybe she's not aware of it.
I'm just thinking she sucks.
Maybe it's funny. Maybe it's late night television for her.
I'm just saying, they could tell her, hey, Cinderella, your cat's trying to murder us. Could you do something about it? Even just separating them. You don't have to get rid of the cat, just put it somewhere else.
That's true.
Anyway, Cinderella's a bad friend.
Yeah, bad Cinderella, no biscuit.
Anyway, we spend way too long seeing these mice navigate the castle to the library room where the fairy godmother is sitting, reading a book out loud saying, Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after, just as Gus and Jack enter the room, which is otherwise empty except for a bunch of other mice on the table.
Okay, I have a theory about Gus and Jack.
Please.
I think that she is actually actively trying to kill them because they are possibly, besides the fairy godmother, the only remaining people who know how she got hooked the prince.
Well, there's a lot more than that because there's all the mice, not just Gus and Jack. There's also the birds, the blue birds.
Blue birds can't really talk to anybody else. The mice are a lot more sentient than the birds ever were.
That's true. And we'll get into that too.
So I'm just putting it out there that she can't really do anything to the fairy godmother. The fairy godmother has magic. She can't take out the mice. Accidentally, quote unquote.
To be fair, what we learned from Cinderella 3 is the fairy godmother does not have magic. Her wand has magic.
That's
all she needs to do is get a hold of that wand and she can get all the power.
She should really try harder.
Yeah, right. She's saying she's trying to cover up the crime of her marrying a prince.
So far in the story, we have no idea which timeline they're in, correct?
Or even a timeline.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, this movie supposedly takes place, or at least it was released before Cinderella 3, so I guess they're assuming there's only one timeline in it. So anyway, the fairy godmother is reading the story to the mice. The same mice she abused and I believe turned into horses or whatever without their consent back in the original story. So I'm surprised there's more resentment towards the fairy godmother from the mice.
They seem pretty excited about being horses.
Yeah, that's true.
And humans. How much would it suck to be a human for 2 hours and then be like, just kidding, you're a mouse?
Oh, Danielle, have you ever seen this movie?
No. Are they mad about it? Oh, that's so sad.
No. You'll see. But that's a very prescient observation. So the fairy godmother ends the story. Jack and Gus are distraught that they missed it. and ask if she can read another one.
I missed the story about my life.
I missed the story I literally lived and is not that long ago. And the fairy godmother's like, nope, that's the only Cinderella book there is. Which, boy, A, does that mean there are no other stories that exist besides Cinderella's story? And B, I cannot emphasize enough that Cinderella is a real human being in this world. Did she strike a book deal after hooking up with the prince? Here's my story.
Immediately after too. I imagine she still looks fairly young. It's not like it's years in the future. Or
I have another theory, which is, do you think this was a vanity publication where the prince pulled some strings to get her autobiography published? Hey, buddy, can you do me a favor? I know no one else cares, but if you would publish my wife's book, I'd really appreciate it. She'd get off my back about this, or just make her really happy. Also, I'm the prince, so I can execute you. So make it happen.
That could happen. Maybe the fairy godmother created it because she felt like she couldn't do better than Cinderella. Cinderella married a prince. She was like, that is my masterpiece. I'm doing a book. She sold the story.
I like to imagine this autobiography is a self-help type story about Cinderella's story. The shoe that fits, or finding the right slipper, something like that. Some banal platitude for a title that is finding the inner prince or whatever. It's something dumb like that.
That's why I think I'm convinced now the fairy godmother did it. She's trying to sell her services.
Yeah, it just looks some kind of weird
play.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's great. I think we're all on board. This is some kind of scam. Great promotional thing. We are 3 minutes into the movie.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
No, I'm not. This is not your fault. This is this movie's fault for being absolutely bonkers and save the universe where Cinderella has published her own story. Or someone has without her consent, which is even worse. Anyway, then Gus has the brilliant idea that maybe they could write another Cinderella book, a Cinderella sequel book. And all the mice are immediately on board with this, writing fanfic about their very real actual friend and illustrating it.
It's so weird.
Yeah. So Jack reasonably asks, who would ever read a book written by mice? And the fairy godmother says, well, obviously Cinderella would. And I'm not sure if that's an insult to Cinderella or not.
Can they write? How do they plan to publish this?
Oh boy. We're going to get into that too.
Are they going to actually write a book?
So the fairy godmother sings the Bippity Boppity Boo reprise to transform random objects like a mouse jacket into a book cover, and then gets a bunch of blank sheaf of paper, shoves it in there, and the mice start sewing it together as a binding and illustrating it, drawing children's pictures. And I guess the fairy godmother is going to magic in the words. It's not clear how this book is getting written, but the mice are mostly doing arts and crafts around it.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, no, so do I, Danielle, and this movie has none of the answers for you.
No.
Not when it comes to the logistics of mice publishing books.
I'm just gonna have to go with it, aren't I?
Unfortunately, because there is no answer. All right, so the fairy godmother insists the mice must write the story themselves, and they decide to go with Cinderella's first day in the castle as their starting point of the book, which honestly is not a bad idea. If it's Cinderella having to confront the reality of Prince No Name, not just as a blank slate she danced with one night, but literally living with him and seeing him as a fully functional human being, probably with some disgusting habits. And now she's trying to figure out, is this the right place for me? Did I make a wrong decision? Should I go back to my abusive family? Or is this my only way out is submitting to this stranger I barely know?
I mean, can she actually back out of it? It's too late, isn't it?
Danielle, that's a really good question. Unfortunately, this story is not interested in dealing with any of those big questions and instead skips right over all that.
Yeah, it really feels like if you're already married to the prince and in the castle, you're screwed if you don't like him. You don't get there weren't divorces.
Well, here's the thing that I think is crazy, and we'll get to it, is that they get married before she ever sees the castle, which I think is wild.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So, I think that if it was her first day before they got married, it's the day after, the slipper fitting and she's finally moving out and now it's this is real. That'd be cool. This is not that.
Oh, unfortunate.
Anyway, we fade into the servants cleaning the castle. It's right after the wedding. And I guess it's not about Cinderella's first day in the castle, but about the mice's first day in the castle.
Where did they get married in the castle?
No.
They got married in a church somewhere in the
I have
town?
no idea.
Where did she get ready? Did she actually live in her sketchy basement and then they pulled her out and they're okay, let's go over to the church and get ready.
Yeah, we'll get to that. The mice are bored since Cinderella and the prince were presumably out on their honeymoon when the prince and Cinderella just arrive home. Cinderella is astounded she's going to be living in the castle, so I guess it's also her first day in the castle, which is wild. They already got married. The timeline, as you point out, is bonkers because did you go from the shoe fitting to the marriage to the honeymoon, and they didn't ever stop by the castle or have any downtime, over 3 hours of a weird shotgun wedding, super fast. It's crazy, this timeline.
And she was briefly in the castle, wasn't she, when she danced? But probably just in that section.
Right, but she's not this is her first day living in the castle,
right.
Not just visiting. So
it really feels
I know, Danielle.
It's not like she was living in a lovely home prior to that. You feel like they probably would have moved her out of that until the wedding.
I mean, it's a pretty nice manor. She was just in the basement of it.
They're not going to
not the basement.
pull
She's
her up.
A tower or whatever.
Yeah, they're not going to pull her up and let her stay in a room or something. What happened to the sisters? Are they eyes pecked out? I mean, what was the ending of the original Cinderella?
You mean the cartoon or the original,
That was
story?
The original story, I'm pretty sure.
I
don't know what happened at the end of the original Cinderella.
I think they have they have to dance till they die, because their feet, they had to cut off their heels and toes to fit into the shoes.
Mm-hmm. And then there's
birds.
Then
the eyes get plucked out their eyes and they have to they're forced to dance until they die or something like that.
Yeah, it's
tragic.
Very
grim. Yeah.
But that's not what happens, obviously, in the Disney version.
In the Disney version. No. Oh, no. Obviously, they just sort of say about their lives living in the manor with their wicked stepmother, or I guess their wicked mother.
I just can't imagine they were she comfortably was living in a bedroom now in the manor.
Yeah, no. She definitely, I can only presume after the shoe fitting, they immediately took her, got her married in an hour, and then had a honeymoon where they consummated the marriage and then brought her back in just a whirlwind of events to make sure she couldn't back out or something.
Maybe he was hardcore about it. They were setting up the church as they were going door to door to find the person who fit the shoe.
Or it could be those people who are, super into abstinence before marriage, and then they all get married really young so they can actually have sex and they all regret it.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
And the person's I really gotta get laid. If the only way we're gonna do is get getting married, we're gonna get married right now.
I highly doubt that was not really a thing back then.
And again, I'm not saying everyone who waits until marriage is miserable with their marriage. I'm just saying it is something that happens more often than would otherwise happen if people weren't pressuring themselves in certain ways.
Probably.
So, just be healthy.
Except that didn't happen back then with males, at least. The females were often virginal, but the males were definitely not. I'm sure the prince got around prior to Cinderella.
Yeah, well, patriarchy. Let's not forget the time period that this takes place in. All right, so the king, meanwhile, is distressed that Cinderella knows nothing about being a princess. And again, as to your point, what's there to know when there's this giant patriarchy in place? Her whole, the reason she's even picked by the prince is because of her looks and nothing about her skills as a diplomat or something.
Maybe they had a very deep discussion in their 3 hours at the ball, Sam.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you know what? Release the Snyder cut of Cinderella and prove me wrong. And so the king assigns a stern headmistress type named Prudence, of course, to teach her.
Not good, I guess, that he's not just throwing her in the deep end. I mean, he is, but at least there's a little bit of help.
So also the king has said that the royal banquet is now Cinderella's responsibility. Prudence is aghast. Apparently this is a big deal, the royal banquet, I guess.
You're welcome to the castle. You're in charge of the banquet.
Yeah, which is different than the ball, which was earlier. 3 days ago, apparently, based on this timeline.
Banquet seems to involve a lot of food, yes, I hope.
Of course. So we cut to Cinderella, who admits she knows nothing about planning a royal banquet to the prince.
Why would she? She's lived in a tower.
Yeah, but then she quips, well, at least I can stay past midnight this time, yuck yuck. Hey, Cinderella's got the jokes.
See, she's got wit, humor. She's beautiful. Yeah. She's funny, smart. Probably.
Lives with mice. Lets mice crawl over her and sleep in her bed with her.
Speaks to animals. Totally sane.
Yeah, right. Wasn't abused to the point of insanity by her family.
Not in therapy. It'll be fine.
There's a really dark viewing of this story where this is all Cinderella's dark fantasy, and that after her mind broke after being abused so much by her family, and all the talking mice and stuff is just made up in her head.
The Cinderella in general story?
Yeah, exactly.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah. All right, well, that's for someone else to figure out, not us. Disney, call me for Cinderella 4.
We're taking this at face value.
Yeah. So the prince promises to help, but oh no, the king and him are going away on some important matters of state. Details unknown after he's been with his bride all 3 hours.
What the heck, man? Prince No Name.
Guess what? The banquet is 2 days away.
No, it's what? They haven't even started preparation. Not anybody in the interim was dealing with this.
This is do you haven't figured this out yet? And it's too this banquet should already be finished being planned at this point. There's nothing left to plan at 2 days for the banquet. It should be done.
Like, what was their plan if they got delayed or their ship was late, there was a storm, like they didn't make it back on time? Who was planning the banquet in her absence?
Oh, I mean, Prudence apparently is the one who always plans the banquets, but they're like, yeah, you can figure it out in 2 days, Prudence is fine.
Surprise!
Yeah, I guess it's just, their normal MO to plan banquets in a few days. And to be fair, they seem to have so many banquets and feasts and fairs and festivals that there's only like a day or two between any of them, it seems. Because based on this timeline, again, it's mere days, a week at most since the ball.
All right, so they have to plan a banquet.
Yeah, so Prudence, who's always planning the banquet, is like, hey, you want me just to do it like I always do? And the king's like, nope, you gotta show Cinderella how to do it. Which, again, should be fine if Cinderella, all she has to do is do whatever Prudence tells her to. Like, hey, what, carpet do we need? Okay, Prudence, just pick the right one. Like, she has literally nothing to do but, like, shadow her like an intern or something.
This feels like, if this is such a big deal, this banquet thing, this feels like something that they'd have to, like, order stuff. It'd have to be literally shipped there, like,
you think they have to, like,
literal ships.
Decorating things, building things, cooking.
You'd have to let, like, the staff know about cooking. You'd probably have to let producers in the city, like, the village know so they could get, like, enough, like, supplies to feed
bread,
like,
pastries,
millions
whatever.
of extra people that are on your property. Like, that seems wild to me. That's something you'd plan for.
You're still hung up on the 2-day timeline, aren't you? Yeah.
It's just as unrealistic, Sam.
Anyone who's ever planned a party knows that 2 days is bonkers. Like, even a small party, like, that's insane. Dinner party.
Let alone a giant party.
Yeah, no, this is the worst run kingdom in the world.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
I'll let it go. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to do it because this is happening. So anyway, the prince and king ride off with the prince is hanging off the outside of the carriage because there's no room inside for him.
Oh, no.
Back at the castle, the mice find Cinderella and offer to help her plan. The next morning, Cinderella is already down in the kitchen making herself an omelet, and Prudence is distraught because she can't find Cinderella anywhere. Where is the princess? And then she mistakes Cinderella herself for a scullery maid, and then's like, oh wait, you're Cinderella, I'm sorry. Let me introduce you to your ladies-in-waiting. We have Beatrice and Daphne.
That didn't happen like the night she came in?
Nope.
And nobody said to her, Beatrice will be in at 6 to help you get dressed and
fed? Nope. Again,
shenanigans.
worst run kingdom in the world. It's like the most chaotic kingdom. And there's a joke I have later that's going to be great at the very end of this.
Prudence, what are you doing?
So Daphne and Beatrice are very excited for the breakfast Cinderella's baking. She's like, oh, would you like breakfast? Like, oh yeah, breakfast? We love breakfast. But Prudence quickly shuts that down. It's like, a princess can't make her own food, and you have to get dressed properly. You can't be out here in this, scullery maid attire. Part
of the story arc, Prudence, like, chilling out a little bit.
Oh, Danielle. Duh. And so she's like, okay, let me instruct you in all the ways of the castle, because it's not your fault you don't know what to do here, which, fair. It's not.
True. It's not. I agree. Can't believe the prince left her. What a jerk face.
Well, I mean, his father made him, which again, also
a jerk face.
Also, again, patriarchy. Now, remember the time period.
No.
Cut to Prudence forcing Cinderella into a corset and hoop skirt, which Cinderella is none too thrilled about.
That's fair. I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, she's not happy getting her hair all done up, and she's like, this is uncomfortable. Do I have to wear this all the time? They're like, yes. Sometimes even something more formal. Then we cut to Cinderella trying to open some curtains, to which Prudence is vehemently against. She's like, these curtains are never opened, and certainly not by a princess. So I guess I don't understand why they have the windows. Yeah, exactly. Why are there even windows if you're just incapable of the curtains that never open? Is there like something like in the Beast's castle from Beauty and the Beast where it's like, we never go on the east wing or west wing or whatever. The curtains never open. It brings in the curse.
That's wild.
It's so insane. This is insane, Daniel. This castle makes no sense.
You don't get to see outside. No sunlight for you.
No sunlight in the castle either. It's so dark in the castle. It's so scary. So then they go on to go over seating arrangements by rank. The marquis sits next to the dukes and whatever. I don't remember what they actually were. And Cinderella's like, that's silly. People just sit where they want. And in this one instance, I disagree with Cinderella here, because if you're throwing a formal estate dinner, like, you definitely need to sort people by rank. That's just how it's done. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And probably there's like political ties in there too, and some people
that
maybe
she's not aware of.
Yeah, like maybe they shouldn't be sitting next to each other, or should be sitting next to each other.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on at the table.
For this one instance, Cinderella is dead wrong, but everything else she's probably right about, and the movie's going to vindicate her in all instances anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Perfect.
So also when it comes to the menu, she's annoyed that the dessert is stewed prunes, which is a reasonably terrible dessert.
Totally fair. Well, who wants stewed prunes for dessert?
Prudence likes them. And she's like, it's tradition.
That's because her name is Prudence.
The prune isn't there, Danielle, but I really did try. You're thinking of prudence.
Prudence.
There you
Her
go.
twin sister.
Prudence and prudence. Oh, what a terrible naming convention that would be.
Parents are terrible.
Oh, certainly. Well, I mean, you're no better with your cat, so I can't imagine what any kids you had would be. They'd suffer.
My cat has kept the same name for the last year and a half. I just occasionally think she should be called something different.
Yeah, it's only your lack of willpower that she hasn't had her name changed like 7 times.
If I had thought of a better name when I got her, I would have changed it.
Okay. So cut to them walking Cinderella outside, instructing her on how to greet her guests, with a wave for nobility and a curtsy for royalty or something. And a group of random peasants are gathered around the front gate clamoring for her. Cinderella exclaims, "Oh, my friends!" and rushes over to them. And correct me if I'm wrong, but does Cinderella have friends?
Not that I'm aware of, but we saw
wasn't she,
her in such
isolated?
We saw her in such a limited capacity. I mean, I'm sure she's probably had to do errands in town because her mother and siblings were lazy. Maybe she's
but do you
made
think they
friends.
would let her have any friendships? They would be at best perfunctory, business interactions, and otherwise she's sequestered in the home doing slave labor.
Maybe when she's out alone or something, and she's managed to sneak away. I don't know her life, Sam.
Yeah, no. Apparently, neither did I, because she's got all these random peasant friends. I guess commoner friends.
Generally think she probably would not have any friends.
That's my thought. But they are apparently on very good terms. Also, were they just waiting out there all day or days? Just well, maybe Cinderella will come by today. We can wave at her. What is the plan here?
Maybe they had somebody in the castle that was feeding them knowledge.
Oh, Cinderella's around today. You can go meet her at the gate. Wild. So Cinderella calls for the gate to be open, but Prudence insists commoners are never allowed into the palace, with the exception, of course, of Cinderella, who is now royalty, risen from the lower caste by the prince's eye for her beauty and nothing else.
At some point, you get rich enough that you can just marry whoever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And so Prudence shoos away the commoners and insists that Cinderella remember the rules.
I mean, what the terrible thing is, too, is that the prince isn't going to really get any flack for the fact that he married Cinderella, but Cinderella's going to get a lot of flack from people for marrying the prince because she's going to be a gold digger.
Yeah, or somehow use witchcraft to ensnare him.
Absolutely. It's going to be all her fault and none of his. Yep.
Patriarchy, yay!
Why does Cinderella bring out such terrible themes?
Because it's about literally the time of period where women had even fewer rights than normal these days. And
it's just terrible.
It's all about the marriage dynamics and this sort of romanticizing them when in reality they were much more terrible.
Yeah, she's getting it though. She's like, you know what? I want out of here. I'm marrying a prince.
I gotta appreciate her hustle.
Peace out, time suckers.
Never more appropriate than in this particular series. Cut to a dancing lesson for Cinderella, which, does she need it? She did well enough at the ball, right? Whatever.
Yeah. What? Yeah, she's ensnared a prince with her cool dancing abilities.
Well,
she's kicking butt in the dance hall.
Prudence insisted that Cinderella learn this very particular, apparently very boring, yawn-inducing dance that is very complicated. And Prudence and her ladies-in-waiting all pepper Cinderella with questions about what color are the napkins, a crew or eggshell, seating order, food choice, trying to quiz her, and she gets so turned around that she falls over and then sulks off in shame while Prudence declares that this is a disaster.
Well, yeah, if you're doing that while somebody's trying to learn something.
Yeah, no. These people are terrible at instructing her in anything. Crying in her room, Jack and the other mice try to cheer her up, and Jack tells her she's not looking like herself, and Cinderella agrees. This just isn't her, and neither are all those silly rules. She's done trying to obey someone else's rules about who she should be, so she casts off her fancy dress and declares she's going to plan this banquet her way.
Yeah.
And while My Way would be a great song to play right now, they instead go with the generic pop song they wrote for this movie and do a montage.
They definitely did not have the rights for that song, Sam.
No.
That would have required money.
They're Disney. They don't have enough money to get the rights to My Way.
Disney absolutely has the money for it. I think the producing team of Cinderella II, Electric Boogaloo definitely.
Dreams come true. It rhymes.
Dreams Come True Boogaloo definitely do not have.
Great name.
Do not have the rights to that song.
Cinderella II, Electric Dreamaloo.
Electric Dreamaloo.
Fair point. But anyway, so they have this generic pop song that basically starts with these lyrics. Who's to say the rules must stay the same forevermore? Whoever made them had to change the rules that came before, which I guess is an endless loop of people changing rules all the way back in history. Where does it stop?
It's never going to stop, Sam. I think that's probably true.
Anyway, it's very much, these songs were clearly written exactly for this movie and are basically just there to describe what's happening in the movie in song form, and they're amazing. I highly recommend them.
I will keep that in mind when I do a Cinderella marathon.
You should binge the movies. You can see frankly, I think 3 is better than 2, but, you can have that little dip to get to the good one.
Is there a 4?
I don't know, Daniel. I didn't get that far. I'm afraid if there's a 4. I'm really afraid. We'll look that up later.
If there is, Sam will do it.
Yeah, I will. You can do all the Janie novels. I'm going to do all the Cinderellas. Anyway, this amazing song backs a montage of Cinderella throwing open the gate and going through town, passing invitations to all the commoners, while Prudence is catching up to her and saying, "This isn't the way we do things." And Cinderella insists that it's time to try something new. And to her credit, Prudence doesn't try to stop her. She's like, well, it's beat on you, I guess.
Except that, and I'm not against this idea. I am, however, thinking that the amount of food and resources you would need in the castle has now quadrupled, if not more.
Apparently that's not a problem. They can put a banquet together in a day.
Because it's just a lot of stuff they need to feed an entire village versus the high class of the village.
Well, speaking of, Cinderella decides to pitch in. Back in the kitchen, she and the mice are trying to make a delicious chocolate pudding to replace the stewed prunes for dessert.
Solid choice.
Yeah, this has to be, though, a health code violation, despite what Ratatouille would have you to believe.
They're magic mice, Sam. They do not count in the
health code. These are not magic mice. These are regular mice she puts clothes on, Danielle. Be 100% clear on that.
They can follow instructions.
They're still disease carriers. This is still bubonic plague time, Those fleas are still going to be on them.
Okay, Cinderella's mice do not have fleas. You know that.
Do I?
This is a time period. This magic time period does not have the bubonic plague or fleas.
I'm sorry. When it comes to the bubonic plague and fleas, magic time period, when it comes to the terrible patriarchy, that's realistic.
Well, I'm not the one who wrote the movie.
All I'm saying is you can't accuse one for the other.
You can't get rid of the patriarchy, Sam. It's just
I wish we could, though.
You can get rid of the bubonic plague and the fleas.
To be fair, we didn't get rid of the bubonic plague. The bubonic plague got rid of us, and then it's I'm done here.
Yeah, well, that's what happens.
I'm just saying, I would not want to eat chocolate pudding made by mice. You don't know how much poop's in that pudding because it's all brown.
You know that nobody knows that it was made by mice, so too late.
That's even worse. That's poisoning your guests with your hantavirus or whatever.
Well, maybe that was her ultimate goal. Maybe she's just a mass serial killer. Maybe that's why she doesn't care about the cat in the castle.
The new Typhoid Mary or whatever.
Yeah, she's just out to kill everybody.
Okay,
but
well,
more
that's
knowingly.
A new twist. maybe she's a murderous Amelia Bedelia, where she's just bumbling her way into murder.
It actually fits Cinderella's personality in these movies.
Right? Man, I miss Amelia Bedelia. Where's her movie? They need to make a cinematic franchise.
There's not cartoons or something of Amelia Bedelia?
If there are, I haven't seen them, and I would love to.
Oh, they might exist. That feels like something that would have come out in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, it does, man. All right, well, if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm so sad for you.
Google. Amelia Bedelia.
Yeah, you know how to spell that one, Danielle.
Let's see. I think maybe they exist. Maybe. It's a TV series from 88 to 89.
One whole year. 12 episodes, I imagine, like that.
Oh, that was a lot. Is that a live action Amelia Bedelia?
Oh, there's a live action Amelia Bedelia?
There's a human being.
All right, well, stop everything. We gotta stop this podcast and go watch that, Danielle.
Maybe. Very unclear.
That is wild. Who plays the titular Bedelia?
I don't know. This is a very confusing Google on first blush.
All right, well, okay, Daniel. I'm going to need you to reel in your Amelia Bedelia obsession so we can focus on this story. We will definitely make room for Amelia Bedelia. I am 100% on board for a marathon of that.
A literal-minded housekeeper causes trouble around the house.
That's the basic story of Amelia Bedelia, yes.
Cast unknown. What?
Unknown? What? Wait.
What is going on?
Were they abducted by aliens and their memories erased from humanity? What's going on?
Unknown. Officially released in Canada? What is happening? It's like it doesn't exist, but it does.
Oh, so if it's Canadian, we can't know anything about a mystery because it's Canadian. Ugh, that's racist towards Canadians. Their media is valid.
I'm so confused. I swear. Okay, we're gonna have to Google that later. Like,
Yeah,
more in
we're going to
depth.
spend a lot of time to get into this.
Sorry.
That's going to be a whole podcast unto itself.
We're gonna do Patreon. We needed a good Patreon episode.
That'd be great. Amelia Bedelia.
Us just Googling Amelia Bedelia.
No, it's like a true crime podcast, The Mystery of Amelia Bedelia. Let's see if we can track down the unknown cast.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Finally put a
IMDb, what are
face
you
to the
doing?
names. Yeah,
I've never
right?
seen IMDb not have. Like, just
The
have.
cast name?
Yeah, for anybody.
Really wild.
Maybe it only came a few episodes, or maybe it, they don't have any record of it.
Oh, I don't know, Danielle. All right. Back to this, I guess, now far less interesting story about Cinderella planning a banquet.
Yeah, sorry.
The song wraps up with Cinderella throwing open the curtains and telling Prudence that while this is a big change, she has to do it her way. And Prudence replies, well, I certainly hope you know what you're doing. Also, and as generic as the backing song is, as it wraps up, the singer really belts it out. And so, kudos to her. She's giving it her all.
Good job, Cinderella singer.
Yeah. I appreciate when people put in effort, even when they know it's no one cares. They could phone it in and it'd be just fine, but they just had to go for it, and I respect that.
Sam cared.
I did. Your effort is not lost on me.
It might be a famous person you don't even know.
I did not read the credits, so it's possible. Cut to Cinderella getting dressed for the banquet as the prince and king and other guests arrive.
Does it show her doing anything else besides throwing up in the curtains?
Nope.
That was just a metaphor for...
Well, she let one of the servants pick pink as the color instead of one of the off-white colors they were picking for the
Good idea.
napkins. Yeah, but that's about it. Everyone seems to be having fun except for Prudence, who is a bit scandalized by everything that's going on.
And she's not at all offended that, Cinderella just came in and took over her entire job and changed it all.
She's like, yeah, she's the princess. I don't have a standing to contradict her.
Doesn't mean you can't be annoyed about it.
Oh, I'm sure she is, but she's keeping that resentment well buried.
Good job.
The trumpets blare. As announced, the king has arrived. He storms in just as Beatrice, I think, it's unclear which lady in waiting is which, but Beatrice comes running by giggling, "Ooh, pudding!" While she's carrying the punch bowl full of pudding, and she just slams into the king and dumps it all over him.
Oh no! All that work with the bubonic, now the king's dead because of the bubonic plague.
Yeah, I know, I got the hantavirus, the hanta pudding.
It's no good.
The king,
Cinderella.
everyone
See, this is just some undercover operation where Cinderella was trying to get the prince in power.
Oh, okay, so she's
wild.
I need to get. I'm sick of being a princess. I need to be queen.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, I believe it.
She's working up the ladder here.
So, despite not dying from hantavirus somehow, the king demands to know what's going on, and is initially incensed, and demands to know who opened the curtains.
Was he a vampire? What the heck? What does he care?
Yeah. No, he is upset the curtains are open. And Prudence immediately throws Cinderella under the bus, saying it's all her doing.
What a weird thing to be upset about.
But the king spins on a dime. He's struck by how lovely the moon looks. Now that you can actually see it through the window that's uncovered.
Does he have mental health issues that are unaddressed?
I'm convinced he does, because this is the pattern where he'll be who opened these curtains? Oh, look how nice the moon is. Who are all these commoners in the castle? Oh, hey, Giuseppe, I know that guy. And he's okay with it. And then he goes oh, where are the stewed prune? Ooh, chocolate pudding, my favorite, it's chocolate. And so he does that 3 or 4 times in a row with all the different things it changes, and each time is oh wait, no, I'm not that anymore. So I think he clearly has some kind of condition.
Yeah, or just needs, maybe it's an anger management issue that he needs to work through.
Yeah, that's very possible. So he's all apparently totally copacetic with the thing. Is hey, everyone, party on. And I guess he knows one random commoner named Giuseppe, which makes everything work out.
I wonder who Giuseppe is.
I really want to know too.
Is it his chess buddy in the park? Is it a guy who owns a local restaurant? Is it
Unclear.
a tailor,
All I know is he has a killer mustache and nothing else.
I'm going to assume that it's just some guy who feeds ducks in the park, and sometimes the king needs to take a break and he dresses in commoner clothes and goes out to the park and hangs out with Giuseppe on one of the bench. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Just chills.
So the king then thrusts Prudence into the arms of the Grand Duke and is go dance. And they leer at each other as flamenco music plays, and they dance off.
Was flamenco music common in Cinderella times?
Well, considering they have a string quartet or something as the music, I don't know where the flamenco guitar came from.
Super common in Cinderella times, I'm sure.
Yeah, they love flamenco music in what I think was France originally, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's French fairy tale.
Yeah. The king is delighted to have some new traditions, and Prudence tells him that Cinderella deserves all the credit, and she's come around and is now honored to serve her.
Oh, that's so sweet.
We are 20 minutes into this movie, Danielle. I still don't think we've hit anything that seems like the main plot.
No. I'm like, and everything's wrapping up pretty quickly, the storyline.
Yeah, and it's been 20 minutes. I'm like, was this all a setup for the main plot? Well, that's when the story ends, Danielle, and we're back to the mice finishing the book.
The end.
So either the last hour of this movie is just credits, or there's more to this movie, and it's actually an anthology of several short stories strung together with this very loose meta-narrative.
So it's an anthology.
It's an anthology.
I like the idea that it was just an hour of credits. That would have been really funny.
It would have been really good. They did like 20 minutes, and they're like, here's an hour of credits, we're done.
It'd be such a scam.
Unfortunately, it is an anthology, and Jack mentions that he doesn't like magic, and Gus says, do you remember what happened last time? And the fairy godmother says, oh, they should tell that story. So they do. I'm basically going to really gloss over them like building the book, because it is literally just there to tie in the unconnected stories.
So they're doing multiple stories in this one book.
Yeah. It's an anthology book, too.
They like not only committed to writing a book, but they're like, but not a long book. An anthology.
Several short stories, but just 3 short stories in this book. Not like a collection on a common theme. Like, maybe at the end of this we can discuss what we think the common theme is that binds all these stories together into one collection.
That was my next question, is if there was a theme between all the stories.
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. When we get to the end, Danielle, you and I can discuss that.
Okay.
So we cut to Jack and Gus walking through the garden to pick flowers for Cinderella, and they need to be less obsessed with
Cinderella,
her, like,
please.
No, I'm not going to use the mice patois. I think the mice would be less obsessed with Cinderella because that's a very unhealthy codependency, it feels like.
Poor mice. Well, she's the only person that can understand them.
No, because remember, they sing to the prince in Cinderella III.
And he kind of understands.
Yeah, and it's all very unclear how, like, again, I get into this a little bit, but, like, what humans can or can't understand mice, these mice in particular, and again, that always raises the ethical questions that we come up when we have talking animals that are clearly sentient about, like, oh, this is all horrific. We poison them and bait trap them and, kill them. So,
or if there's some kind of divide between these sentient mice and regular mice.
Right, like a Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim kind of thing where, her husband and the other rat were genetically or experimented on to be super smart.
Maybe it's the pudding.
And she just gets half of that. What?
Maybe it's the pudding.
Maybe it's the pudding. The pudding that they make?
Yeah, maybe that's why they're able to converse. Like, maybe that's just they're around the pudding, something about the pudding. Any mice she puts together to work on pudding.
What? You're not making any sense here, Daniel.
I think the pudding is what turns them into sentient mice.
I don't understand how them making pudding makes them sentient mice.
I don't know. Secret ingredients, Sam.
They have to eat the pudding, Danielle.
They probably do as they're making it.
All
or maybe
right.
it's just exposure to the pudding fumes. I don't know, Sam.
This is like the least coherent theory you've ever presented on this podcast.
Really? That's the bad ones.
You know what? I'm putting this out there. This is the worst I've heard in my recollection.
Listeners, if you can think of a worse theory than the pudding fumes.
I bet they could, but I just can't remember it.
Causing sentience in mice, please let us know.
Anyway, Jack laments that they don't do anything for Cinderella anymore, now that she has so many other people to help her. And again, what? Why is your whole life dedicated to serving this human?
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to do more friends. Or maybe they're in that weird in-between where they're too smart for regular mice and now they're
but they're
too dumb
they have their own society. There are 30 of these mice or
But
something.
Can all of them talk to each other in
Yes,
English?
they all wear clothes and talk, and they all use the same patois language and talk to each other.
I don't know then, man.
Yeah, we'll get into that, trust me.
Well, she's a princess. Maybe they serve her.
But that was before even. Now they're lamented they don't serve her as much because she became princess and now has servants.
Maybe she's evil, Sam. She's trying to kill the king and become queen, and they knew that, and they're on her side.
I think it's more that the mice have an unhealthy obsession with her, like a deity or something.
It's
a
quite
religious
possible.
figure. Yeah. I think it's this giant person who takes care of us, protects us, we must worship her.
Quite possible, and she's the first one to understand them.
That we're aware of. Maybe there are other pockets of sentient mice in the world. We don't know. So while traipsing through the garden, Pompom sees them and chases them back inside. And we cut to Jack and Gus lugging the few flowers they managed to secure up to Cinderella. But oh no! The Duke has already presented her with a giant bouquet, which she gets every day, so I guess, because she mentions how it's bigger than even the one she got yesterday. So I'm not sure why the mice are surprised by this.
No, that's so sad.
So they're disappointed they can't compete with that. And then the Duke gives her a long list of preparations for a spring festival that is the next day, literally tomorrow.
Why are all these things so quick?
Because there's 70 million. They have 350 events every year, Danielle, and they have to fill them up. The calendar is back-to-back festivals, balls, dances.
Are you making that number up, or did they actually say 350?
Oh, I'm making that number up, Danielle, but only that makes any sense. It has like every 3 days or something. Every day there's another festival.
There's only 365 days in a year, so it can't happen every 3 days. It's got to be like almost every day.
It's stupid. And they'll have one day to plan any of them. It's great.
Maybe this is like 6 months later. You don't know.
I mean, I suppose, again, nothing's ever in the timeline, and no one ages, so it's all a mystery.
Maybe it's just, they're just like, this is some kind of like crazy hazing ritual for Cinderella.
Well, to be fair, Cinderella also makes a snide comment about how they sure throw a lot of parties, so I think it's not like a year later, because I think she's also being like, why am I throwing a party every 2 days?
So, Spring Festival.
Spring Festival. And also, like, what is she, a princess or a party planner?
Yeah, you think there'd be people who do this, and at most, she might just sign off on a few things.
Yeah, why is she the one in charge of planning all this stuff?
Yeah.
But I guess she is.
I don't know if that's a princess's job, I'll be honest.
I mean, I have no idea. I'm the wrong person to ask, because I'm only a princess in the colloquial sense.
Okay. Princess Sam.
That's right. So Cinderella sees Jack and Gus and thanks them for the flowers very kindly before she's whisked off to the planning committee meeting. Meanwhile, Mary, another mouse, pops out and greets Jack sweetly and offers him a new coat she made just for him.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Aw, yeah, but just as he's about to try it on, Gus notices that Cinderella forgot the party list. So Jack rushes off to bring it to her, leaving poor Mary alone and sad, basically getting mouse blocked by Cinderella.
It's because Gus is in love with Jack.
You think Gus is in love with Jack?
I don't know. It's just a possibility.
Why?
Because he's blocking Mary from having him try on his coat.
No, Cinderella is. Because it's all about like his obsequiousness and subservience to Cinderella.
Sure,
is what
ultimately
him.
Cinderella is the problem. But in that specific moment, maybe Gus just wanted trying to like mess with them. He's smarter than he seems, Sam. He's smarter than he seems.
I was going to say, he doesn't seem that like conniving. He's not that Machiavellian.
You don't know that. Could
Maybe
just be
he's
an
playing
act.
Dumb. Yeah, okay. All right. Gus, the real villain of Cinderella.
He's probably Cinderella's number one mouse.
That's Jack, Danielle.
No, it's actually Gus. We're just like pretending. Jack thinks
Jack
he's in charge.
Jack is the fall mouse.
Yeah,
He's the fall,
exactly.
We really make these things dark, don't we?
I can't even help it.
It's like this natural for you.
I didn't even realize it till now, until I was saying all that. I was like, why do we always make these things so terrible?
Danielle, this is mostly you this episode.
But often it's you.
That's true. I'm certainly not innocent of that.
I'm sorry, everybody. We don't mean to destroy your childhood.
That's fine. If they're watching Cinderella II, it wasn't that happy a childhood.
Aww.
So in the room with the planning committee, Jack struggles to navigate all the legs under the table to bring Cinderella the list, when a lady accidentally picks him up and freaks out, causing a massive commotion that upends the whole committee.
How do you accidentally pick up a mouse?
She drops a napkin, it covers him, then she goes to pick up the napkin, and Jack is inside of it.
She picks up the napkin with her entire hand.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Like Danielle, I didn't write this.
I just think that's slightly unrealistic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the talking mouse movie was unrealistic for you.
That's not the part I have a problem with. The part is always the other stuff.
I know. And it's so wild to me what you will not let slide. I'll suspend disbelief for the talking mice and the magic fairy godmother.
I want this stuff
the
in
napkin. No one will ever pick up a napkin with a mouse inside.
I just want the world they've built, the stuff inside of it to make sense.
Oh, then you're watching the wrong movie, Danielle.
Anyway, mouse napkin.
You need to watch them. I'm telling you about them. So Jack runs off and is sulking under a table when Cinderella finds him and checks in. I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing? He's sad because he can't help anymore. Cinderella's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go tour the fairgrounds later. I could really use your help. So why don't you meet me in 10 minutes at the stables?
He's a mouse.
Why?
Can't he just hang out in her pocket for 10 minutes?
I was going to say, why she doesn't just pick him up and right then and there is a mystery to me, and is only there to ensure that further shenanigans take place.
And he has to make it all the way to the stables.
To the stables in
he's
10 minutes.
Mouse.
Yeah. No, I think your theory about Cinderella being a secret sociopath that wants to torture and murder animals and everyone else around her is becoming more and more viable with the moment.
It makes no sense. Okay.
It is insane. So at the stables, Jack almost gets crushed by horses. Another point about why he should have been carried there by Cinderella.
Yeah, terrible ideas.
And so he climbs a hay cart to get out of the way. But just as Cinderella walks in, Jack is pitchforked into a stall with the hay, and she leaves without him, thinking he couldn't make it.
Yeah, because he must have gotten stuck by something else he was
Or
involved
eaten
in.
by the cat you know is in the palace.
What a terrible friend.
Yeah, I know. Cinderella's the worst. Now he's left all alone and sad, and then Jack is pacing in the garden, feeling useless and small, when Pompom spots him and starts stalking him.
Uh-oh.
While ranting, Jack says he wishes he was big, because being a mouse is useless, which apparently is all it takes because the fairy godmother appears and is all, hey, tell me about it. What do you need there, Jackie boy? What's bothering you?
Wishes? I hear them.
I hear the clink of wishes. Really going extra dark in this one, Daniel.
More fun that way.
Yeah, okay. This is not our spooky torts, but it could be.
It's been a long week, Sam.
So I'm guessing the fairy godmother really has nothing better to do than to answer mouse wishes, because apparently all the suffering in this kingdom has already been taken care of.
Maybe it just is one of those things that calls her every time somebody's like, I wish,
Then
Goblin
why is she
King
more
style.
busy? Why does she have time to make books with mice and do craft projects?
Maybe they're on her radar just because of everything that's gone on with Cinderella.
I can maybe they're also magical beings, just siphon magic from them into her wand.
There you go.
There you go. All right.
That's how she keeps her relative youth.
Yeah, right. So Jack tells her he wishes to be human so he can help Cinderella and maybe bang her, if we're honest. I think that's the subtext.
Oh, ew.
His obsession is such that it's gotta be psychosexual.
It might be.
And he's like, no one likes mice, so make me human. And the fairy godmother's like, are you sure? Lots of people like mice. Mice are great. And I'm kind of with Jack on this one. In this time period, being a human is way better than being a mouse.
Even in most time periods, really.
Yeah, they're not given a lot of cuddles and kindness from the world.
That's certainly true. I want to see a story where the mouse gets turned into a human, actually decides that they want to stay a human and just goes with that for the rest of their lives. There's always they always have some turnaround. They're like, nope, it really was better to be a mouse.
But no, it's being a human's great. I have thumbs.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about scrounging for seeds in the dirt or being eaten by a hawk.
I want the story to not be that, being yourself is better in some cases.
Sometimes, kids, the lesson is being yourself sucks, and be someone else if you can.
Or be yourself in the best form that you can potentially be, and he managed to
change yourself into a different species if possible. You suck that bad.
No, not that moral. The moral is that he could be his best version was a human, and he had the opportunity to take it, and he did.
Now, the lesson is sometimes some people are just better. Some groups of people, some classes, some species are just better. If you can be one of those, you'll have a better life. Which, honestly, is a true kind of thing in our world where we have all these stratification
classes. It's a hard
classes.
lesson that should not be an actual lesson, but is very realistic to normal society.
Yeah. Sometimes you're just born into a better life, and if you can turn yourself into a person who has those same privileges, then congratulations, you've just won the lottery.
Listeners, please be aware that I did try to make that optimistic and positive, and Sam was the one that turned that negative and dark. That was not me.
Look, it's not my fault. We have a basic that caste systems exist, and that we have society decided that we're okay with that.
Well, let's see what happens to Jack, who I'm sure will have to turn around and become a mouse again by the end of the
story. Oh, absolutely. For the dumbest reason. You're going to love it.
I'm not. I'm already mad about it.
So the fairy godmother's all skeptical about this, but she's like, fine, if that's what you want, and turns him human. Pompom sees this transformation, and instead of being like, oh, well, there goes my meal, she sees in her head, we get a picture of the new Jack form, and then a bunch of mice stacked up on top of each other's shoulders. She's like, oh, that's just a giant mouse. I can eat that thing and get even more mouse for my bang for my buck. And she's like, giant mouse. And she's more determined than ever to eat that Jack human now.
That's the best gag ever.
It's so good. She's like, there's gotta be that's just more mouse. It's it's not a human. It's just more mouse meat I can chow down on.
That makes me happy. That's funny. Good job, Cinderella II. That is funny.
Good job, Pompom, for being like, hey, this is a human. I know what humans are, but instead of me thinking that, okay, now this thing is big and can destroy me because it's a human, I'm going to just still determined to hunt it and eat it.
Yeah, that's so good.
Because I know the inside is really a mouse. That's all that matters. It's on the inside that counts. Pompom might be the most woke one of them here because she only cares what's on the inside.
That made me cry. That was funny.
It's a really good gag. Also, it's insane. I'm like, what are you doing, Pompom? It's a human. It's going to kick you. Anyway, it's time for another pop song montage about how great a day it's going to be as Jack wanders through the forest stalked by Pompom, hunting him. Also, the song lyrics are very literal.
I kind of of want to see Pompom take him on. Is at some point he going to jump on Jack? Because that'd be real funny.
Oh, absolutely. You know that's going to happen.
Yes. I'm so here for the storyline.
So the song lyrics are also very much on the nose, with them going, when you're small, 1 inch tall, and then you're 6'2", you've hit the big time now, and the world is looking up to you.
I see what they did there. Is Jack, attractive as a human?
No. He's got big buck teeth.
Of course.
Because he's the mouse, right? Yeah. Actually, they did a very good job of making him look like the mouse, of the human version of the mouse. It's like, oh yeah, if Jack was a human, that's what he looked like. It was very nicely done. He's not unattractive. He's not hideous. He's not Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I was just curious. I was wondering if they kept the mouse style in it. Then sounds like they did.
He's very much like a mouseified human. He doesn't have giant ears or something, but he's his face shape. They did a good job. Excellent. The animation is not terrible. It's well done. For how cheap these usually are, impressive.
Is it similar style to the third one?
It actually might be slightly better animation. I don't know.
Probably less and less money as they went on.
Or less and less, it says less CG at least, for sure.
Yeah.
So Jack walks into the middle of a field where Cinderella is overseeing the construction of some buildings for the festival that's tomorrow, I guess. When he stumbles.
They're building buildings in one day?
Yeah. They're doing a barn raising. It's insane.
Crazy.
When he stumbles clumsily and gets a bucket of cement dumped on him.
Oh no. He's like, dang it, I want to be a mouse again.
Yeah, right immediately. No. So Cinderella and the Grand Duke go to help him, and it's all oh, are you okay, sir? And he's trying to tell them, hey, it's me, I'm human, but they keep cutting him off, oh, your name's Sir Hugh? Welcome, Sir Hugh. Is that Dutch? Are you Dutch? And they don't let him, get a word out because, movie.
Yeah, the only time where you actively constantly cut people off.
Yeah, so they constantly cut him off before he can explain, and misunderstanding, and it's time for them to head back to the castle. And so, hey, Jack, do you want to ride this horse back with us? And he's like, sure, ride a horse? I've never done that before. And he crashes his horse immediately because duh.
Yeah, because he's a mouse.
He's a mouse. He was riding a horse. Anyway, back at the castle, Cinderella is in high demand and immediately is whisked off to another meeting or something, and leaving Jack to go take care of his own things when he's chased by Pompom and is backed into a corner.
He knows he's a human, right? So you're gonna
Yeah, so what Pompom does, which is genius, she throws a little wedge of cheese out as a trap, and when he bends down to sniff it, she lunges out at him, and he runs away, yelling about I'm a human now. I shouldn't be afraid of the mouse. I shouldn't be afraid of the cat, but I'm still afraid of the cat. He's very self-aware.
It's funny. I like that works.
So he's backed into a wall when Cinderella reappears and asks him to help keep a countess busy until she can see her, which Cinderella doesn't even know who this person is. It's already putting him to work.
Yeah, that's wild. She seems to be a free-for-all for people, though. She's like, oh, come on in. Let's be friends.
She doesn't even get his, I guess he does get his name. She thinks his name is Sir Hugh, but it's hey, I don't know what your whole purpose is to being here, but I'm going to make you do this thing instead. Do some chores for me.
Since I'm the princess, you have to.
Exactly. So the Countess is the same woman who freaked out earlier about the mouse, and is freaking out now trying to smash Gus when Jack walks in and she leaps into his arms like, oh, you're my hero. Save me from that awful mouse.
Aww.
Cinderella then pops in because apparently she only needs Jack to be in a room for 4 seconds before she pops in again to do her thing. And she's like, oh, this is the perfect couple to lead the first dance at the festival. And I'm like, what? It's a pretty big assumption to make about these two people who just met. So then Cinderella and the Countess bustle off to go get ready, promising to go see Jack at the festival. And so we cut to Jack getting ready in his room when he overhears Gus and Mary in the walls talking about how he's missing and she's worried about him. Side note, can he still understand the mouse?
I was just thinking that. I was you can hear them?
And he's a human. So can all humans understand the mice? Or is it just that he was formerly a mouse and so can understand them, but then why does Cinderella understand them? I don't know, Danielle. It's all very nonsense.
Wouldn't it be interesting if Jack became a human and could no longer understand the mice?
Yeah, I think would be happening. He was like, oh, I regret not being able to talk to my friends, that kind of thing. But nope, not a problem for him.
It'd be a whole different story.
So Jack shoves his face into the mouse hole, going, here I am, Jack Torrance style from The Shining. This, of course, freaks all his friends out who scatter because they are, once again, mice.
You should know better.
Yeah, so Jack sulks a bit, and the fairy godmother appears and asks, hey, is everything all right? And he's like, oh, I'm so sad my friends fled. And she's like, but hey, I thought being a human was great. Isn't it better to be a human? Isn't being a mouse just the worst? And he's like, oh yeah, I guess so.
My half of a day here on as a human.
Yeah. Then the Duke appears and says it's time to go to the festival. But Mary overhears Jack say something that clues her in that Jack is actually Jack the mouse and not just some random human.
That would be quite a big clue because that would not be your first thought.
Well, he says like I think it's Zook Zook is his like catchphrase or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, that must be Jack because no one else in the universe would ever say that phrase.
Might make you like vaguely suspicious, but like that doesn't happen very often. I don't think that would ever be anybody's first thought.
To be fair, this is probably like 2 weeks since they were transformed into horses by the fairy godmother. So she probably has like some like clue about it.
I guess so. Maybe. I just think people as a general humanity tend to take things at face value.
Sure, but maybe the mice are better than us, Danielle.
That's very possible.
So we cut to the festival, which is literally a modern-day county fair complete with Ferris wheel.
Ooh, that's fun. When were Ferris wheels invented?
I don't know, but apparently they had wooden Ferris wheels in this medieval France analog.
Ferris
wheels. You're Googling it. Thank you, Danielle.
1893.
Okay, I think this is a little late for that. Or a little early for the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel was a little late for the festival. I don't know. You get the point. So while there, the king gets on an elephant because he loves elephants, and the Countess, Pompom, and Gus and Mary all search for Jack. The Countess finds him first, and they're bustled off to dance the first dance when Pompom jumps onto his face, causing him to fall into the dunk tank. And yes, there's a dunk tank.
Yeah, first off, there's a dunk tank. Secondly, this cat's very social for a cat.
She is all about, like, let me get onto his face in the middle of this dance. Like, that's the time I'm going to attack this fully grown human, which I know is a mouse on the inside.
How did he know the dance? What's the dance? No, what's the dance? How does he know dance?
How does Jack know how to dance?
Yeah.
I don't think he dances very long. I mean, we never really see him do any steps. He's mostly just like swung around by the Countess who was all over him.
Yeah, and I also, want to know what Pompom's takedown plan is. Like, once she gets the human down on the ground, what is she going to, like,
dog chasing the car. Yeah. What's going to happen? You caught it. Now what, Pompom?
I just think it'd be hard to be fully taken down by it. Like, you might fall down or something from a cat, but I think the cat's gonna have a hard time, like, killing you as a human.
I'm not saying cats can't do a lot of damage. Like, we've all been scratched by cats. They are very dangerous. But, like, I'm more afraid of being hurt by a cat than actually, like, killed by a cat.
Yeah, it's not first on my list. It's like, oh, this cat's gonna kill me.
Yeah, like, mountain lion, sure. House cat, like, yeah, is it gonna, like, make me bleed a bit? Sure. Could I get an infection? Maybe. If I hit an artery, would I be in trouble? Possibly. But I think it's pretty safe that I could probably take a cat.
Maybe it's one of Cinderella's minions, and he's trained in, like, where to attack for a human takedown.
Go for the wrist, right? Yeah.
Femoral arteries.
Jugular. Yeah.
He's like, very being possible. Human's not gonna stop me, Jack.
Cinderella, give me a task, and I will rest until it's completed, and your blood is spilt. No, what happens is Jack uses the opposity to escape and flee, and ends up on the Ferris wheel with Pompom, who's also sitting on the same seat as him. Don't ask me how. She's just there.
I love Pompom. Pompom's my new favorite.
Oh, you're going to love her even more later. So Jack jumps off the Ferris wheel and lands on the elephant, which causes it to freak out and stampede around the festival, causing chaos.
I don't know if that would actually happen, but sure.
Sure. So then he cowers in like an alleyway between two tents, and he wishes that the fairy godmother was there to help because he's ruined everything. So she appears and it's all, Jack, this is your perfect opportunity to help. And he's like, what? What can I do? And she's like, what can stop an elephant? What are elephants afraid of? Maybe a mouse? Wink, wink.
So she turns him back into a mouse so he can stop the elephant?
So Jack's like, oh yeah, turn me back into a mouse so I can stop the elephant.
That's so sad. Jack, you didn't even give it a try.
Yeah, no. So Jack asked me to turn back into a mouse, and like he runs out into the middle of the street, whatever, where the elephant is rampaging, like stands in front of it. And the fairy godmother has that like, oh, how does the spell go again? It has like a minute while the elephant's charging him to like build tension. Everyone's like, oh no, he's going to be trampled. And then she remembers bippity boppity boo. Apparently that was hard for her to remember because she's terrible.
She's losing her mind slowly.
Yeah, and turns it back into a mouse, and immediately the elephant stops on the dime. It's like, nope, I'm done. There's a mouse in front of me. I'm not going to like turn or go the other way. I'm just going to stop, and I'm done. I'm done rampaging.
And then she wipes everybody's memories of a human turning into a mouse, right?
No, apparently everyone just sees it like, no, that's fine. We have no problem with that.
Oh man, I guess they do live in a world of magic.
So then the king is throwing off the elephant when it stops abruptly and lands on the Ferris wheel. It's like, oh, cool. It's like ride the Ferris wheel. And everyone's like, oh, yay, festival's back on. Everyone cheers.
Wild, man.
Mary appears and compliments Jack on how brave he is, and Cinderella shows up to say how glad she is that she can always count on Jack, and he's the most helpful little helper. And then Jack and Mary make out a bit as the fairy godmother makes fireworks. So, end of story of the second.
Wild. I'm sad Jack didn't get a better human experience.
I don't know, he got some hardcore mouse-on-mouse action, so good for him.
Yeah, I'm happy for him, but still. Sad day.
All right, back to the mice assembling the book, blah, 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 don't care. And they set up another story about how, remember the time Anastasia fell in love? So here we are, Danielle. It's that story finally. We're there.
Why? Oh, I have so many questions already, and it hasn't even started yet.
What's the question? Why are they telling this story?
Why does the story exist when in the next movie, Anastasia is not in a relationship?
Again, the timeline for this could be insane. This whole movie could be taking place after the events of Cinderella 3.
Or in the alternate version.
Or this could be the ultimate timeline before Cinderella 3 happened and changed everything.
Oh, terrible. Okay.
I don't know, Danielle. It's insane.
I'm already mad.
Crazy. If you can unpick this timeline conundrum, I would be very impressed.
Yeah, this was the wormhole I got into, and I don't know the plot of this, but I do know that it doesn't make any sense if Anastasia was in love with this one, and the third one, she's single and ready to mingle. I don't know.
Again, I had a theory. I think that the baker simply dumped her, was using her and then dumped her immediately and absconded with a bunch of money.
So she's falling in love with Baker. Okay, let's go.
So cut to Anastasia watching a music box of Cinderella and the prince dancing while sighing.
There is a music box that was made?
Yeah.
There's like books, there's music box. They really
the merchandising. This is like that Spaceball gag. Like Spaceball is the flamethrower, Spaceball the action figure. This is Cinderella the book, Cinderella the music box.
Is this how they're like kind of like tithing from the villages or selling all this merchandise to the commoners?
Look, the only explanation I can think of, Danielle, for this music box is that it must have been like the most passive-aggressive gift ever from Cinderella to her stepsisters. Like, hey, let me give you a music box that reminds you how much I succeeded over your objections, over your, trying to stop me, and how happy I am and how miserable you all are now.
That would be great. It could also have been a wedding favor.
That she gave out to everyone?
Yeah, now everybody has a music box with her and the prince.
Anyway, poor Anastasia, who we know is also a true victim, and I do love how this movie series has turned Anastasia into a victim.
She is a victim. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's great. So she and Drizella start fighting because, of course, they do. When the wicked stepmother steps in to remind them that Cinderella's ball is tomorrow. Another one.
Just a ball?
Just a ball. I don't know, Danielle.
What season is this set in?
It's all set in sunshine season.
Okay. Maybe they're just sunshiny all the time. France, notoriously sunshiny all year.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's South France, a Côte d'Azur or something.
Yeah, it must be.
Again, a ball every day at least. And that they better find a rich husband there, or else.
Or else what? She's said this 1,200 times and they've yet to find a rich husband.
Yeah, apparently their only plan is keep taking her daughters to balls and hoping they find someone.
I mean, that was really probably what you did back then.
Damn you, patriarchy. So they go out shopping for new gowns and shoes and decide to bring Lucifer with them for some reason.
Because it's a travel cat.
Bring the cat with you shopping. Despite the cat not wanting to go shopping with you.
Are Lucifer and Pompom going to get together?
Oh, yeah. Sort of. So we cut to Cinderella sneaking out of the castle to go to the market to get a garland of flowers for the prince as a surprise.
Aww.
Also, she always refers to him as the prince, since she obviously does not know his name, if he even has one.
He doesn't have a name, Sam.
He doesn't have a name! I can't,
maybe his name is Prince.
Prince. Dumb, Daniel. I refuse to accept that.
Good. It's a name.
No, I'm veto Prince.
Makes sense, though.
No, I'm not going to accept that. I think she just doesn't know his name, is too afraid to ask at this point.
She's like, man, we've been married for 3 months.
More like 3 weeks.
I wasn't paying attention during the wedding when they read it off. It was so long.
While she was I thought the guy was saying, do you, and said the prince's name, a bird like cod covering us, she's going to hear it. It's perfect timing.
She's like, oh no! Now I'll never know.
Every time someone's about to say the prince's name, there's a noise, an airplane flies over. What's an airplane? That's not even the right time period for this, but apparently it drowns out the prince's name.
She does that trick where she's like, honey, hey, Boo, how you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey there, buddy.
Love my life. Sweetheart. Yes, what's his face? My prince.
And this is my husband, the Royal Highness is the prince.
That's the best you got, huh? Nice. Anyway, it's still not an issue that's been addressed in this movie or the next.
Or ever.
In the market, Anastasia sees a florist handing out garlands, which he says will guarantee to win you the heart of your love. And she's very much wistful at this.
Aww.
The wicked stepmother calls her away, but she's quickly sidetracked again by a lovely smell coming from the bakery.
Falling in love over bread.
Yeah, where a handsome young baker is taking out some freshly baked bread. Marry that man.
As was like, that'd make me fall in love.
I'm fresh baked bread. Like, oh. I mean, come on, Danielle. It's like, I don't want flowers or chocolate. Like, give me some fresh baked bread. Like, oh. I mean, seriously, that does it, right?
Yeah, I would totally. If you want to bring, anybody wants to date me, if you want to bring bread to the date, we're down. Like, we're good.
Fresh bread? Oh, I miss like a nice bakery you could just walk to.
Don't you live in a city that should have bakeries? Do you not have bakeries?
I mean, they have some, but like, I don't have any, like, my immediate neighborhood is a problem.
I don't have any in my immediate neighborhood either. Well, maybe a few blocks up.
Anyway, the point is, strong game. The baker has very strong game. Good for him.
Good job.
So she enters the store and bumps into him, and it's clearly love at first sight. They just start staring at each other and then flirt a little bit. Just as Cinderella and the mice walk by and watch through the window, flabbergasted that someone seems to have taken a liking to Anastasia.
Because she smells like bread now.
I mean, who wouldn't love a bread-smelling woman?
I wouldn't mind smelling like bread.
Why is there a perfume called, like, Eau de Pan?
It might. You never know.
Anyway, if not, Chanel, call me.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Chanel number 6. Smells like bread.
Tasty, tasty bread.
That's a great one, Dan. I think I deserve more than a yawn.
Sorry. I'm in a bed, Sam. It's quite cozy.
Oh, yeah, that's your problem. Anyway, the wicked stepmother interrupts them and, like, slaps the bread out of her hand, which is no.
Rude.
No, do not waste good bread. Be evil, but not that evil.
That is so rude.
And she, like, pulls her away, telling her that, like, everything in this shop is inferior and not good enough because he's a commoner.
Where does she get her bread from? Do they make it in her place? Is it better because it's homemade there?
I don't know.
She probably gets the flour from the baker, right? I don't know how that works.
No, you're a miller, Danielle gets the flour, right?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. Is the miller, are they also millery and a bakery? A mill.
It's called a mill, Danielle. Just mill. I know English is hard. We went over this, but just mill.
Just a mill and a bakery, or it's just a bakery?
Just a bakery. There's no mill.
Okay. I don't know. You weren't the one who watched the movie, not me.
I'm just telling you, there's no mill. So Cinderella observes that they're clearly in love because 4 seconds of looking at each other is all it takes in this universe, and she's the expert on that.
It's true. Do they touch hands?
No. Maybe? I don't remember.
Because you know how that works, apparently.
Oh, right. The hand touching. And Cinderella starts scheming to get them together again because she can't just leave well enough alone the family that abused her.
Yeah, you think she'd, like, let that go. She'd be like, man, I don't care.
Or also, like, it's really not my business to interfere in their lives, but she's like, I'm all about interfering. I'm a meddler.
I'm going to make their lives better whether they let me or not.
So using her bluebird friends, they steal Anastasia's hat. At the same time, the mice make a show in the bakery and get the baker's attention, and he chases them outside where they run into Lucifer, just as the bluebirds bring Anastasia's hat into the square, with Anastasia following closely behind.
Is Lucifer just, like, trotting along behind them?
It was like sleeping under a cart.
Okay. They just, like, bring their cat to the market and then just, like, let it go. And they're like, we'll meet you back here in an hour.
Right. Why do they even bring him? I don't get it. So the baker and Anastasia stare at each other some more. But then Lucifer, chasing the mice, startles a horse that rears up and kicks Anastasia clear back into the bakery, smashing her ribs, collapsing her lungs, and killing her instantly.
She dies.
No joke. A horse kick would kill you. They are dangerous.
Yeah, at the least, you need some kind of medical intervention that they probably did not have then.
You'd have smashed ribs, a punctured lung. That, especially a kick that like threw her 30 feet back inside.
Yeah, she's in major
dead.
Trouble.
Absolutely dead. But now she's fine. Somehow just fine, but covered in eggs and flour and goop now.
And bruised for the rest of her life.
Well, psychically, maybe.
She probably has like a internal bleeding that she's not aware of and she dies tomorrow
morning.
Yeah,
she'll be dead in 4 days. She's like, why is my, like, leg turning purple? Anyway, the baker helps her up, but Anastasia is so embarrassed to be covered in all that flour and other mess that she runs off crying.
Oh, that's so sad.
Cinderella follows her and finds her crying in a fountain in an alleyway, like a fountain against the wall, which, why not? Sure. Fountains and alleyways. Let's do it.
That's notoriously where you put all fountains.
Absolutely. So she approaches Anastasia and tries to encourage her. And Anastasia is all, what would you know? You're beautiful. It's always been easy for you. And Cinderella protests like, I don't remember it being easy.
You're like, wait a minute. I've been locked in a tower for like 20 years.
But also, to be fair, Cinderella did have a very, like, she didn't do any work to get the prince. Like, the prince just fell all over her because of her looks. Like, she did no work in that relationship.
She probably deserves something good after her terrible life.
I'm not saying she doesn't, but, like, her trying to explain to Anastasia, like, oh, let me tell you how to hook a man when she did literally no effort. Yeah, that's my getting. I'm not saying like she didn't have a hard life, but her dating advice is probably not the strongest.
First, you steal a wand from a fairy godmother.
No. First, you get a fairy godmother to magic you into a man. That's all you need. And I'm into a man loving you. Like, she did no courtship, basically.
Magic you into a man. That also works.
And it also works in society. That's actually true. That would actually get you probably out of your predicament, too. Anyway, she tells Anastasia she just needs a little help. And so she invites Anastasia to the castle. She's like, I'll clean you up. I'll get you ready. And Anastasia's like, wait, what about my mother? She won't allow that. And Cinderella says, don't listen to her. The baker is terrific. And he cooks too. Although, no, he doesn't cook. He bakes. Gee, Cinderella, get it right.
Sure, he could bake meat pies or something that they could eat for dinner. You can eat
That's
bread.
still not cooking.
With cheese.
That's not cooking, Danielle. There's very distinct skill sets and artistries.
They are, you're right.
That's all I gotta say. Cinderella's gotta get her head on straight.
You tell her.
I did. So they go back to the castle with the mice and Lucifer following behind, and they're just all let into the castle, including the mice and Lucifer,
also,
through the front door.
Okay, crazy. But also, what is the game plan here? Like, the stepmother doesn't matter. She kind of does. I mean, realistically.
So apparently, in Cinderella's point of view, and this movie will posit that all Anastasia needs to do is stand up for herself, and the wicked stepmother has no actual power over her, which is not how the dynamic should work in the society,
I'm pretty sure that's
unfortunately.
not how the power dynamics work at all.
No, it isn't, but the story is all just like, stand up for yourself and you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Short of her getting knocked up by the baker, I don't think she would have been able to be with the baker. Unless he had a lot of money that she didn't know about.
I'll point this out later, but Cinderella, as a princess, could probably have like solved this whole problem much more easily than this
matchmaking
weird
them being
plan.
like, we're putting these two together, and stepmother, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I'm the freaking princess. If you don't like it, to the guillotine.
Like, speak with the king.
Right? You know?
Who won't be around for very long because he has bubonic plague and I will be queen shortly.
And you don't want to see me when I'm queen. But the point is, Cinderella employs none of her actual newfound power to help her stepsister and instead decides to do this weird convoluted plan, which we're going to get into right now.
She's not great at being a princess yet. She hasn't quite got the dynamics down.
It's wild. And so they all go back to the castle. And I was going to skip this whole part with like the mice being chased by Lucifer because obviously the mouse and cat antics are just there to pad out the runtime. Mm-hmm. But then Lucifer sees Pompom and things get spicy.
Yay, Pompom and Lucifer.
Yeah, he is all into her immediately. So everyone in this family, cat included, is love at first sight.
Is it Pomifer? Is that their couple name?
Their ship name is Pomifer?
Yeah.
No.
What is it? Lucipom?
There you go. That's a better one.
Lucipom better than Pomifer?
Because it's funnier to say.
Whatever.
What are they? Lucipom. That's great. However, Pompom, not interested.
Oh, Pompom, what are you doing? Lucifer's a catch. Not
is
really,
he?
no.
We don't know nothing about him.
No.
So the mice agree to help Lucifer hook up with Pompom if he agrees in exchange to leave them alone, like stop chasing them and trying to murder them.
What is how is that even something they could maintain? Like if they got together finally, couldn't Lucifer just do whatever he wanted? Right.
I'm like, this is there's no like treaty. There's nothing that can enforce this. There's no enforcement mechanism.
Also, how funny is it that the cat's name is Lucifer? Hilarious. Every time.
I mean, I don't know why they went a little bit on the nose there, which is great.
But that's what you name cats. That's just like true to life.
I mean, it's funny because like the dog's name I think is like Bruno, which is the name for a dog. Sure, yeah. And the cat name is Lucifer. Again, spot on name for a cat. It's great. So now it's time for a makeover pop song montage where the mice clean up Lucifer while Cinderella tries to stop Anastasia from going too over the top with all like the new dresses and makeup she has.
Oh, are they making Lucifer dapper? Does he get a bow?
They are. Maybe it's a bow tie, but he gets like his hair parted in the middle, which
Ooh,
always looks stupid on animals. And the song, meanwhile, is singing about how it's what's on the inside that counts. So, message received movie, I guess.
That's because it's dealing with Pompom, and Pompom only sees the insides.
That's right. It's the mouse inside of Jack. So Cinderella then tells Anastasia that the best way to impress the baker is to be nice to him. And great gag, Anastasia's like, maybe we need more necklaces.
She's like, that's not my skill set. I've been raised by a terrible human.
She has a good appreciation of her own skill set, which I like. But no, Cinderella insists on giving her smiling lessons.
That'll help.
Yeah. So Anastasia smiles at Lucifer, who happens to be in the room at this point, and then Lucifer runs away in terror because of her awful smile. And then Anastasia, completely dejected, laments, "I make babies cry too." In just the saddest tone.
Poor Anastasia.
Again, I don't know whose decision it was to make the Cinderella franchise to have Anastasia the most pitiable character, but I'm so glad they did because it's amazing. It's an amazing choice.
Feel so bad for her.
Yeah. They make her into like the most saddest character, and like I feel like she deserves way more than Cinderella. Like Cinderella does nothing to deserve what she's got, but oof. Anyway. It's great. It's such a weird choice to have that change happen.
If she ends up with the baker at the end of this, I'm going to assume that's her happy ending and pretend like the third movie is like some weird time loop continuum weird thing.
Maybe that happened like in the middle of between the first and second. So Cinderella also tells Anastasia to stop listening to the wicked stepmother. Like, just don't listen to her. And like, if only were that easy, Cinderella. If you could just do that, perfect. But she'll help Anastasia go see the baker and to meet at noon tomorrow in the market, and they'll go together.
So is she like in a completely new style now, Anastasia?
Yeah. She lets her hair out of the braids and lets it down. She's wearing this nice blue dress. She's like completely done up.
So she's going back to her stepmother in a completely different way than she started. And she's just supposed to be like, I just was, shopping.
She like the next day, like Anastasia's like wearing a robe and like hiding her dress that's underneath the robe and like has her hair underneath something.
Yeah, but she went back to her stepmother that same day wearing that outfit.
Danielle, I do not. Maybe she snuck in and then like got into like her robe, like, I'm not feeling well or whatever.
Okay, crazy.
Again, I don't think it would have worked, but here we are. So Anastasia sneaks out and knocks the coachman off the carriage and it steals it and heads to town. The wicked stepmother sees this, is like, something's up, and does not appreciate that, and like, goes off after her.
Uh-oh.
The baker, meanwhile, is buying a heart-shaped garland, and later, Anastasia buys one too from the same stall. Aww.
No, that's so sweet.
They want to give garlands to each other.
So the baker knows she's coming.
Well, I think he's like planning to go find her at the ball or something and give her the garland. Like it's like their
that's right. There's
courtship
a ball
ritual.
Happening. I forgot.
Yeah. There's always a ball happening. You just assume there's a ball or a festival or a banquet or a dance or a hootenanny or something.
Cinderella's hootenanny.
Yeah.
Cinderella 4, Cinderella's hootenanny.
Cinderella 4, hootenanny in time. They go back in time travel. It's a really weird well to go back to. So meanwhile, the baker's showing off his garland to another girl, whom I'm just going to assume is his sister because we learned nothing about her.
It's actually his girlfriend.
Well, he's asking her, hey, do you think Anastasia, or like, do you think she will like this? Because he doesn't know her name because they never talk more than 3 words to each other. Do you think she will like it? And just then Anastasia walks by and sees him like showing off the garland to this girl and is like, oh no, and like turns around and starts crying and runs off.
Aww.
And turns around just before she sees the girl, make out with her boyfriend and head off together arm in arm as the baker comes after her. And like, it's like, oh, she runs off, the baker like chases after her. So womp womp.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. So Anastasia runs off to go cry by another fountain. I guess it's her thing.
In another alley?
Nope, this one's in the square.
Oh, that's good. Stepping it up.
Yeah, I know, right? And we cut to Lucifer courting Pompom with the help of the mice, who give him a bouquet of fish to give to Pompom, which is pretty funny. It's a solid gag movie. There's some good gags in this movie, I gotta be honest. Pompom, like, stalks around Lucifer, like, sniffs him a bunch, and is like, yeah, I'm into this. And they, like, hook up a little bit, and they hug.
Good.
Yeah, well, animals. And then, through pantomime, suggests that they chase the mice together.
So they can't talk to each other, but they can somehow understand all the mice stuff?
So the mice, yeah, they can understand the words the mice say, but they have to pantomime to each other.
It's so sad. They can't talk.
No. Again, I don't know how the animals in the universe work, because they're clearly sentient, but non-communicative, where the mice are sentient and communicative. I don't know.
Mice were just gifted.
Yeah, or, like, again, mutants. Who knows?
Pudding fumes. You didn't believe me, but
pudding
it's true.
Fumes, all right, sure. Let's do pudding fumes. So Lucifer immediately agrees, and in the fracas, Pom-Pom gets water dumped on her by Jack, which causes, like, mascara lines to run off her face, because apparently she was wearing mascara, which, again, another solid joke. And it immediately makes her go sour on Lucifer and dump him for some reason. Like, it's his fault somehow.
So sad.
Meanwhile, the baker wanders around until he stops to sit by a fountain, where a goat eats his garland.
There's a lot of fountains.
Well, it's the same fountain, because he hears Anastasia crying.
Okay. It's like, why are there so many?
And he goes on to find her crying, and she tries to run, claiming that she looks horrible. But he hands her a flower, the last remaining one from the garland, and they have a moment. Then the wicked stepmother shows up and starts like laying into her, like, you can't do this. He's not good enough for you. You need to marry a rich man. You should never see this man again. I'm going to take you from him, yada, yada, yada. Well, Cinderella watches from the shadows. And again, she could have stepped in at any moment and said, hey, I'm a princess, step off, or I'm going to have you clapped in irons. But no, she decides just to watch.
Maybe she's still suffering some PTSD from her Cinderella years. And
Possible,
she
but then why
doesn't
would she
feel like she can step up to her stepmother.
Maybe, but she was so eager to like and cheerful and expresses no emotion besides like a bland happiness that I don't really understand her. Don't she reminds me of? Oh, I figured it out. You ever remember like Barbie from those Barbie movies?
Yes.
Where she's like always like blandly happy and like just sort of stiff. That's who Cinderella's personality reminds me of.
Excellent.
Just like no personality, just happy and like not very expressive. So
I think my personal favorite Barbie rendition is Toy Story Barbie.
I mean, yes, that's everyone's favorite because she leads a rebellion, but everyone appreciates that. So anyway, Anastasia finally snaps and stands up and declares that the baker is sweet and romantic, even though they haven't exchanged more than a few words. So I guess she's just guessing about all of this.
He seems sweet and romantic.
And the baker's like, oh, she's perfect. I'm like, again, you two don't know each other.
Again, they probably touch hands, Sam. I don't know what you
That's all
expect
you
from
need.
this
I'm
movie.
sorry, my mistake. And apparently this just is all it takes to get the wicked stepmother to back off. She stalks off with a shocked and kind of jealous Priscilla as we fade to the ball with the baker and Anastasia dancing and being just so happy. We zoom out on the happy dancers and the ball and back to the book the mice are making.
Oh yeah, that.
That's the thing. Remember the whole framing device?
No, I didn't remember that till now.
So they finish the book and they rush off to find Cinderella to show her the book of stories from her own life that she then offers to read to them, even though they literally just finished writing it.
Good job writing. Would you like me to read it out loud to you?
That's exactly what happens. That's literally what happens. So anyway, the movie ends with Cinderella reading to the mice by a fire as the fairy godmother sits in her armchair listening to the story that Cinderella is telling the mice about her own life that they told the fairy godmother to write into the book. It's a weird Ouroboros. I don't understand it.
Oh, meta.
It's very confusing. Like, again, maybe this is all some weird, like, fourth wall breaking meta story, and Cinderella 3 is the real story. I don't know.
Crazy.
So we cut to the credits, where the first credit is, I kid you not, directed by John Kafka.
Oh.
Which
Okay.
probably no relation to Franz Kafka, but I like to think that all the insanity of this movie is related to his philosophy.
That would explain a lot.
It would explain like all the weirdness about like the terrible and poorly run castle and everything, and how bad everyone is at doing their jobs.
And all the like animals changing to humans, changing to animals.
Yeah, oh my god, that's definitely true. Oh, that's creepy. You got it. So, I like to think that it's probably unrelated, but I like in my own head make that connection. Also, as the credits roll, a pop remix of Bippity Boppity Boo kind of plays, and it's like a bunch of other Disney songs. Highly recommend it. Go listen to it. It's a banger.
On it.
Also, one of the images shown during the credits is Mary and Jack with a baby, so,
Aww.
she and Jack got busy.
Just one
The
baby?
end.
Don't they have more than one baby?
I mean, there was another mouse holding two other babies. I don't know if that's related, but
How many babies do mice usually have in one go?
like 5, 6, I don't know.
They just like
They have a litter.
They just have the picture of the one. This is the best baby.
This is the only one we care about. I don't know the ins and outs, but that's how the movie ends, Danielle. There it is. Done.
Wow, that was a wild ride, as promised.
3 wild rides. So as we get to the end here, we have to finally address, is there a theme, a common thread that ties all these stories together, Danielle?
Cinderella.
I mean, okay, that's like the laziest theme. I was thinking something about
Pompom.
like body horror.
Sorry.
Not Pompom.
Are you sure
Pompom's
it's
barely-
not like Pompom's evolution?
No, she does nothing in the first story.
She in it at all? She's chasing
No.
the mice, isn't she?
In the first story? No.
I no longer remember the story, Sam.
That's the one where she was planning the banquet. Pompom is not involved.
I don't know if Pompom was involved or not.
Nope. So I'm trying to think like some like body horror because there's a lot of transformation, you're right. And like there's physical transformation in Jack turning into a human. There's also like a personality transformation, like by transforming Anastasia, they change up her look.
Maybe it was just a really long advertisement for a company that puts together parties.
Oh, it's like a catering commercial. Cinderella's Catering Company. Call now. Do you have a ball every day? We can help.
Exactly that.
Okay, well, that's
Cinderella's
it.
long goal.
She's done with the publishing industry and making music boxes. Now she's on the catering.
And
party
becoming
planning.
queen. She's becoming queen any day now when the king dies.
That's right. King dies from hantavirus in the pudding. All right, well, there you go, Danielle. Cinderella 2. I don't know how it really fits in the timeline. That still confuses me. Cinderella 3 may undo or precede all of these events in one way or another. And I feel like thinking about it just makes my head hurt.
Yeah, the timeline of this is very confusing. But I am further convinced that Cinderella is some kind of sociopath.
Right. And also, like, it feels like these 3 stories took place 3 days apart, and that there's a ball or a banquet every day, and that time just has no meaning in this universe.
That would explain why, she doesn't use her princess powers, because she's probably only been princess for like under 2 weeks at the point that she
that's like what I can figure out. Yeah, none of this makes sense. It's crazy. And like there's no seasons in this movie either, so.
Well, maybe it was all in the same season.
That's what I'm saying. Either it was all happening immediately or there's like a year apart between every story. Anyway, there you go. Any remaining questions about Cinderella and the entire Cinderella cinematic universe?
No, I feel like I really need to sit with this, and maybe I'll have some questions later that'll come to me in my sleep or something.
Fair enough. Well, if you out there want to give us your theory on the timeline for Cinderella, like if you want to try to lay this out in a way that makes coherent sense and ties everything together, we'd love to hear your theory. So send it in to us at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you want to fund our investigation into the Amelia Bedelia series and who those actors are and what happened to them,
we need to know.
If this is like a Amelia Earhart situation where they just vanish and we got to find them.
Or maybe it was canceled or something. It didn't actually, come out.
Get a cast?
Yeah. There's a picture of a person dressed as Amelia Bedelia.
So they got pretty fine production at least.
Still shot of a scene from the show.
Better yet, if you want to help us fund an ability to create our own Amelia Bedelia show that we could do as like a gritty reboot of Amelia Bedelia, please, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's not
You're
a real show.
You're still hung up on this, aren't you?
I am. Maybe it's a fake show. Maybe it's somebody's pet project. I don't know. Google, I have not clicked on any of the links, so this is all mystery.
Help us solve Danielle's block by giving us the money to investigate this at patreon.com/bookretorts.
I could also just, click on some of these Google links and see what happens.
Well, either way, we'll be back next time with probably not a lot more Cinderella, but maybe some Amelia Bedelia. Who knows?
Who knows?
Until then, don't take everything too literally. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
I was thinking about that earlier. There was a word I think that was both plural and not plural. Oh, hair. That's what I was thinking of, hair.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, I have to get my hair cut, right? But that refers to all the hair on your head as a collective.
Right, not a single hair.
Yeah, exactly. But if you say, I found 3 hairs in my sink, you refer to them as hairs, not 3 hair in my sink, right? Yeah, so it's a collective plural, but not individual plural? I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was weird that pants was plural. I get that there are 2 pant legs, but they're singular unit.
Why isn't a shirt plural? A pair of shirts.
You can't just have a pant. That's not really a thing.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what chaps originally were because they're half pants.
Maybe, but they still call them chaps.
Well, now they do, but maybe they were originally called a pant.
Maybe. I'm sure there's some reason behind that.
Maybe, or maybe it's just we don't know. English is stupid. It's the guy who made pants, called them a pair of pants, and no one questioned it.
Just makes it sound like each leg is a pant, and that's not
true.
Well,
I think it comes from, pantaloons.
Which are also plural, but why? They're similar to pants.
But I don't think it's plural. It's like saying mathematics, which isn't plural. It's just a word that ends in S.
But yeah, that's dumb.
Pantaloons just ends in S. And people are
why is it not just
pants.
mathematic? So it's a distinguish from being, what is that, an adjective? Something can be mathematic versus mathematics as a subject. Or maths.
Well, I mean, that's the British way of saying it.
I know, but it's also plural. Weird.
Yeah, or physics, same idea. But the point is, some words just end in S, Danielle, and then people think, well, that ends in S, it must be plural, so let's call them a pair of pants when we abbreviate pantaloon to pant.
I just think that, I guess maybe because you can't have, but you can have multiple pairs of pants, and then they're still just pants.
Yeah,
Pants,
right?
Pantses.
Well, because you can't plural, Danielle. Let's not get crazy.
But we just agreed it wasn't a plural. It's just a word that ended in S.
Yeah, but like...
Pantsai?
You can have pantaloons.
They're pantsin.
Okay, you were done.
That's they are, though. They clearly, if pants are going to have a plural, it's pantsin.
If I want to use this at our opening, I have to put like 20 minutes of backstory for people to understand the heck we were talking about.
That's often the case, Sam. Have you listened to our intros and outros?
Yeah, but some will at least have some kind of set. Just you screaming pantsin would be the worst out of context part.
It'd be funny.
It's probably going to happen, so
somebody would
been warned.
I feel like that's the kind of thing I could listen to and be like, I wonder if they were talking about the plural of pants.